Hello guys, welcome to a new series called Hill's Opinion. This is a new series in which I am going to give my opinion on certain subjects. These subjects may vary in the future, but for now I think I'm just going to be sticking with games. I couldn't think of any better way to start than to start off with my channel's first game, Tomb Raider 2013. So yeah, this is pretty much going to be a review series for now, but I may do other stuff in the future as well. Anyway, let's move on to Tomb Raider. Before we can objectively judge a game, we first have to establish the criteria that define our opinion of it. So let's start off with something rather obvious and simple to judge. The graphics. Tomb Raider has pretty amazing graphics. But wait, is that all there is to say? No, of course not. The good thing about Tomb Raider is that the graphics to performance comparison is incredible. In my time playing, I don't think I have ever dropped significantly below 60 FPS on high to ultra settings, and all I did was just, turn off some shadows and stuff. By the way, for more information on the graphics, just check the links below in the description box. I will put some benchmarks and stuff. So having covered the graphics, what else is important? Well, of course, there is the gameplay itself. I mean, what would a game be without decent gameplay, right? This, in my opinion, is where the game truly shines. Do you guys know that feeling when gameplay just feels right? Like when you hit every target, and every time you hit a target you feel that incredible satisfaction? Well, that is what Tomb Raider was to me. Every time I hit a target with an arrow, like I got a headshot or something, it just felt so good. And having played through the entire game twice, I can firmly say that the game does not have any clunkiness to the control scheme. There was never a point in the game where I was frustrated at the controls. I was just frustrated at myself for misusing the controls at times. I would also like to take a quick look at the weapons themselves. So first of all, the bow is simply incredible. I mean, many upgrades will allow you to traverse the terrain in which you may not even have thought that were possible. The game opens up every single time you unlock a new upgrade, like you can traverse terrain in a vertical way, in a horizontal way, you can cross gaps. All of this stuff will allow you to get a good amount of backtracking, but it is all optional backtracking, so it's just for people who are actually interested in doing it. Then we're moving on to the shotgun. So the shotgun does feel like a proper blast weapon. It does feel like a weapon with great impact. When you shoot people, you actually do feel the burst coming out of it. But I have not felt like the need was there to use the shotgun throughout most of the game. Maybe in the final part for a little bit. So the shotgun is probably my least used weapon alongside the pistol, which then leads me to the pistol itself. The pistol is great. I mean, who doesn't love Lara and her signature pistol? Do note that I said pistol and not pistols, as she only wields one pistol throughout this game. The weapon is well designed and does feel impactful, but it just kinda drops off in comparison to the new weapons, and that brings me to my favorite alongside the bow, which is the assault rifle. Because man, the assault rifle just rips through people like it is nothing. Now you guys must think I am just praising every aspect of this game. And yeah, while I am very positive about this game, no game is without fault. The story, while being pretty good in general, has moments where it all feels a little bit too right. Falling Simulator 2013, as the game is also known as, has those moments where Lara should have died, but she didn't. She fell, she grabbed something. She fell and then she fell on top of something. Stuff like that just happens all the time. Now usually this is a good thing, right? I mean, tense moments with clutch saves, keeps the adrenaline going. Well, in this game it's just overdone. This game just does that way too much. And while it is good for the cinematic aspect of this game, so it does give you a good movie viewing experience, the gameplay itself, it just lacks due to it at some points. And the premise of falling 24/7 and surviving it kind of ruins the surprise factor after the 5th time it has happened. Now let's move on to some more in-depth analysis of this game. This game was originally marketed as a story-driven survival Tomb Raider game with RPG elements. That's quite a mouthful. Now, how did this shine through in the game itself? First of all, let's dissect the sentence and look at the individual statements. Starting off with story-driven. Well, the game is fully voiced, cutscenes are plenty, and the linearity of the general plot is in place. So I would say that this part has been accomplished. Moving on, we have the survival aspect. The focus on survival is heavily implied in the first hour. Escaping a ship crash, trying to find warmth, hunting for food. Yeah, that's quite a lot of survival. But then the story quickly goes into another direction as it shifts away from the primal survival. From here on out, the game still focuses on survival, but it is just a different kind of survival. It isn't all about surviving the many soldiers around the island and getting people off the island. And while I do think the idea behind the original hour was solid, I think they let go of that idea too quickly. Now, lastly, we do also have Tomb Raider. Is this truly a Tomb Raider game? This game has received a lot of criticism due to it not being like its predecessors. While the other games focused more on exploring and figuring out how to solve puzzles by yourself, the new game just kind of shoves you down a path and lets you go along for the ride. Which is something that I enjoy myself, but people who love to have a bit more freedom, who love to be able to explore, which I can understand as well because I'm part of both groups, it just depends on the game itself. Now, there are some optional aspects to this game, like you can recover lost artifacts and relics, but that is still simply a collectible hunt pretty much. One thing worth mentioning is that the optional tombs that this game has are reasonably well designed, but, once again there's a but, these tombs are so incredibly small in scope that they are nothing in comparison to the vast caves that we had to explore in the older games. Like in the older games you had giant puzzles that would just take place in one room, only to open up a gate in another room to get access to something else. Yeah, you can see where I'm going. There was a lot of exploring, a lot of puzzling to do, and this game is just like, you have an optional puzzle, it may take you like 5 minutes, you will get a treasure, and you will go on with the story. So that's pretty much the difference. We also have the RPG element, so it wasn't finally, there's another element. While I personally loved the RPG aspect, because I am a sucker for RPG stuff, I think the RPG stuff maxed out way too quickly. I mean, I love being able to develop my character in a specific way, only to replay the game later on and find out that if I would have gone for a completely different skill set or approach, then the game would have just entirely changed upon my decisions. Which of course is difficult, because if you do that for games, then you will have to make sure that every way possible has the same level of satisfaction in some way. Now, the RPG elements were interesting, but I think they could have used a bit more depth. So what I'm hoping for, as I have not played it myself at the time of recording, I'm hoping that the Rise of the Tomb Raider game has the same stuff, but it's a bit more in depth. I will for sure be doing a Let's Play of that game, by the way, and probably also a review. So stay tuned for that. Now, with all of this said, here is my final judgment of this game. So, first of all, graphics. I rate the graphics in this game 8 out of 10. Why? Well, the graphics themselves are great, but they are nothing too spectacular. I mean, there are many games who are on similar levels. Think of Uncharted 4. Well, I can't think of anything else top of my head, but there are many games. But the thing that I really like about these graphics is not that they are great by themselves, but the fact that even low-end PCs can run the game at pretty decent settings and still get a lot of visual satisfaction out of it. and the optimization that they have done for this game, yeah, it just bumps up the graphic department a whole lot. Now moving on to gameplay. I rate gameplay 9 out of 10. Yeah, you guys heard it right, 9 out of 10. There are many games where somewhere during the gameplay I will experience a part where I get frustrated, a part where I don't know what to do, a part where I will try to blame the controls like everyone will at some point. But in this game, every time I did die, I blame myself. It's simple as that. I have already talked about gameplay, how it just feels fluid, how every kill feels good. So yeah, this game just does everything for gameplay, and if the second game continues this trend, then I am so gonna be playing that game for hours and hours on end. Now there is the story. Story is a 7 out of 10, which is still pretty good. I would have rated it 8 out of 10 if it was just about the general story, but I feel like they are reusing some of the aspects too much, like falling. And also, there are these scenes where every person with a decent amount of intelligence would have done something. I'm not gonna spoil anything. But then Lara chooses not to do that. And while I can understand Lara has to make decisions that will extend the game, there were some decisions that 99% of the people just wouldn't agree with, and it kind of ruined your connection with Lara as a character. There is, however, a pretty good amount of character development. For example, there's Reyes, and Reyes first of all starts off as a pretty nice character. Later on she becomes really suspicious of Lara. She doesn't want her to be leading the group because people are suffering due to her, but then later on she once again turns around and gets behind Lara. So yeah, I try to explain that without too many spoilers. Then of course there is the character development that Lara goes through herself. I mean, she's the biggest character development out there. She starts off as this innocent, inexperienced girl that is scared of pretty much everything around her, and then in due time she will grow into the Lara that we all know and hope to see more of in the next game. Finally, let's look at the marketing truth. And what do I mean with that? Well, I mean, how well did the game do at delivering a game that is true to the premise it was originally meant to be? So, the story-driven survival Tomb Raider game with RPG aspects. How well did it keep up to that? In many aspects it kept up really well. For example, the survival, it was there, it just wasn't fully there. The RPG was there, it was just, once again, a little bit lacking. Tomb Raider, I feel like the character is just way stronger right now. I feel like Lara is a way better character than she used to be. I do think they pulled it off. They could just use some improvement to the next game, but I still rate it pretty highly, so I'm gonna go with a 7 out of 10. Now, for the final verdict of this game, I rate this game an 8 out of 10. I recommend this game to everyone even remotely interested in the concept of this game. In the concept of Lara Croft, in the concept of playing an adventure game driven by a character that usually did not have such a good background. For I can assure you, this game is worth its price. Just do not go into this game expecting a dungeon crawler, and you will be fine. Hope you guys enjoyed this review, and I hope to see you guys again for the next review. So, see you around, guys.